Hello, you gorgeous human beings. Welcome to day 13 of 75 Hard. And this video is all about the books I have been reading since I started this challenge. So, what I will say is for the eagle-eyed among you, you might be like, you're only on day 13. How can you have read 3 books? But if you go back to the beginning, you will know that actually I started this challenge well over 2 months ago. And the reason that I am on day 13 is because I had to start again. I had a month of repeatedly keeping on starting again, which is part of the reason why I have decided to breathe life into this YouTube channel to keep myself accountable. And I don't know what it is. Actually, I do know what it is. The first thing is that this is the first weekend that I have been on the challenge since recording. And originally this weekend was supposed to be my Christmas party weekend. I host an annual Christmas party, and I had friends who were coming over from South Africa, and it was going to be a whole big shindig. But with the passing of my niece, I really just did not feel that I wanted to celebrate in that way. And so my kids are with their dad, and I have been on my own. And wow, oh my good golly gosh, I really, really needed this weekend of just quiet reflection and reading and 75 harding and watching some trashy TV. It has been exquisite. And not only has it been really amazing because I've been able to just really indulge my ambivert nature and recharge on my own, but I also had additional affirmations. So part of the squirreling away that I have been doing has been just sticking my nose back into the human design world. And human design is something that is very, very big in my corner of the internet. I know a lot of people who absolutely love it, and I have always been a little bit tentative around it because it feels quite restrictive. Like, you are a projector and this is how you act, and you are a generator and this is how you act. And I'm just like, as individual sovereign beings, I don't like the idea of my whole life being dictated to by falling into one of these categories. Like, it just doesn't resonate with me. However, I'm in a space of following the nudges, and I had signed up for this program, mini program about that was specifically for generators, and I am a generator. And it reminded me of a reading that I had done 2 years ago. And I thought, do you know what, I'm going to revisit that reading. And in that reading, what the person said was, as a generator, you have to take time out in order to generate the energy needed for these big explosive moments. And all of the shoulding that you do on yourself, I should be doing this, I should be doing more, I should not be taking a duvet day, I should be all of that is really unhelpful. It's unhelpful generally, shoulding on yourself, but especially as a generator. And the more that you're able to really honor those moments of quiet, of just allowing yourself to be, not on, not performing, not creating, not on show, the more it will elevate and amplify the work that you do. And so having that ringing in my ears and knowing that I could have been having a party this week, it's been just really, really lovely. And because I have had this additional time, I've had time to think. I've had time to contemplate, which is where yesterday's video came from, the energy of that, and talking about manifestation and needing to let go to increase capacity rather than focusing on lining all of your ducks, getting all of your ducks in a row. And I had another really big moment today in my awareness because of the 10 pages I had to read in this book, my book. But before I get to that, I wanted to share with you 2 of the other books that I have read since starting this challenge in October. One of them is by a friend of mine called Jacqueline Shaw. This is Spiritual Smackdown, From Victim to Goddess. And I was reading this. I started reading it before my niece passed. And wow, I am so grateful that I had this book specifically to read during that time. Now, what this book is about is a woman who had it all on the outside. She had the relationship, she had the kids, she had the freedom, she had the love, she had the work, she had it all. And then it all fell apart after her partner cheated on her while she was pregnant with her second child after encountering, I think it was 3 miscarriages. And the memoir is about her journey from, she calls it victim to goddess, and really understanding her brand of spirituality and strengthening her relationship with God and herself throughout this time. It's interesting, I'm going to have to reread the book. I'm going to be inviting her onto the podcast. I'm going to have to reread the book because on the outside of things, what she was writing about had nothing to do with my experience. However, it was so comforting. And when I think about it now, the big themes that kept coming up was her willingness to surrender in situations that were beyond her control, and her self-awareness that developed over time when she would tune into her desire and her own manipulative behavior, trying to control situations and people that she had no domain over. And her truth and her vulnerability that she shared in all of these moments as she really acknowledged and took ownership for the parts of her that were not acting in her highest. The parts of her that came forward when she was being driven and fueled by fear, when she was being driven and fueled by scarcity. And the idea that everything was going to fall apart, she was going to fall apart unless she could have it all exactly her way. And then underneath that was another theme of just choosing trust, knowing that there was a path that she and her partner had to go along, and actually there were 2 separate paths. And when she was truly in acceptance of that, seeing how things unfolded, it was just a really, really exquisitely told story. And I remember waking up every day. My preference is to read my pages, 10 pages a day as part of the challenge in the mornings. And it was like a big, warm, cozy blanket. It was being reminded that we are never alone. It was being reminded that we are always fully supported. And that even in life's hardest, most challenging moments, there are gifts for us, there are lessons for us, which is exactly what I am talking about in Infinite Receiving. The way that she talks about it's completely different to the way that I talk about it, but it was so reassuring to receive those messages at that time. So this is the first book and I really recommend it. I will definitely put a link to it in the description. This was the second book and it's called Contagious, and it's about how to build word of mouth in the digital age, and it's by a guy called Jonah Berger. I liked the beginning of this book, but it wasn't a page turner for me. I didn't want to keep on going. I was quite relieved when I got to the end of the book. And I think as the challenge, you commit to reading a book from start to finish. So it's not just 10 pages of any non-fiction book every day. You have to complete the book. This is the type of book that I would normally get on Audible, and I would listen to a bit when I wanted to, and then I would come back to as and when I wanted to. But because I was forced to read it from cover to cover, I found it quite laborious. Whereas with Jack's book, I was eating it up. It was like reading a documentary. You know, it's like this is somebody's real life. This is her account, but it was just like, whereas this was very, okay, you need to do this, 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 and this. It's a good book. It's definitely a good book. And if you applied everything that you learn in there, I'm sure you'll have a channel that goes viral. I think what's interesting for me is that I love a formula, I love strategy, but I also love to be able to just speak from the heart. And how I have built my business is with a mixture of like speaking from the heart, sharing what is on my heart, and then incorporating incredible strategy and tweaking and refining and going back. But when it comes to my content, I'm sure I could be a lot bigger if I used the formulas. You know, on Instagram, I would definitely use a template for my hooks, for my titles. So that is helpful. But I find that sometimes when you approach things with a tick box mentality like that, it can take the soul out of what it is that you are doing. And as my friend Natalie McNeil was saying the other day, I think that in 2026 and beyond, where so much soul is removed from content with things like AI influencers and automation and all of that good stuff, the more human you are, the better. So this is a good book. I do recommend it, but for me, not a cover to cover book. And then look at my dogged version of my book, Infinite Receiving, Crack the Code to Conscious Wealth Creation and Finally Manifest Your Dream Life. This is my book. And this is my copy, which I have read now lots of times. And when I wrote this book, Sunday Times best-selling book, when I wrote this Sunday Times best-selling book, the way that I managed to get through it was to stop trying to write it for everybody else and write the book that I would be able to read again and again and again. And I'm really proud to say that that is the case. Like 2 years on, after writing the freaking thing, I am still getting value. And there was something that I read yesterday that was so helpful for me, as I've shared, like mumming of tweens and teens is like, it is a roller coaster. It's a journey. And sometimes I feel like I'm getting it all wrong, because sometimes I am. And that's okay. But what I read yesterday was something that helped me. Once again, it reinforced what I was teaching yesterday about everything you need is already here. And I reread a page. I was trying to find it, but I didn't mark it down properly. I reread a page about how we show up in the world and how really up until the age of 2, we have carte blanche to just be who we are. And not only do we get to be who we are, but all of our demands, if we're lucky, if we've got good caregivers, all of our demands are met. We cry, we get fed. We cry, we get changed. We cry, we get moved. Like, it's just like, I want this, I get this. I want this, I get this. And then at 2, the terrible 2s, everything changes. We start getting told that unless we act in a certain way, what is a socially acceptable way, we will experience love being withdrawn from us in one way, shape or form. And most of the time, this is not done in a vindictive way. This is just our caregivers trying to mold us in a way that will enable us to be safely encapsulated within the tribal culture of our local society. The problem with that is that as we are molded, our true essence gets shaped in a way where we lose our authenticity. And depending on how quickly we catch on, by the time we are 9, 10, 11, so much of that original light and the knowing of our worthiness and deservingness just for being disappears. And reading this in my book, in my words, was just so in combination with what I had read in the book that I had picked up. Reading that was such an incredible reminder of, oh, this is what's happening right now in real time. We are, all of us, are moulding ourselves in order to be accepted. And when you're doing that as a tween and a teenager, that's such a hard time. And so I felt wildly, wildly grateful actually this morning when I woke up and was able to reflect again on the things that had come into my awareness, the reminders that are all around me. I had a client message this morning and say, can you point me in the direction of a meditation that can help me remember that universal energy has got my back? And I was like, just look for the signs. I mean, I did send some resources, but also just look for the signs. They're everywhere. You are being supported in every moment. But if you are walking around blinkered, you're not going to see it. And I'm like, not only are the signs everywhere, but like, this is literally my work. There was a version of me that had the wherewithal to put it down in black and white. And that is why I will read this book until the next one comes through. And maybe I will even still continue to read this book and be a student of this work. I write that in the book. I'm a student of this work and I'm proud to be a student of this work. And what I love is really being able to start my day with 10 pages of wisdom from any book that I'm resonating with. It is an exquisite way to start the day. So this is what I wanted to share with you for day 13. I'm excited that tomorrow I will have done 7 videos. Actually, it might even be 7 videos today. I'm not even sure. But Anyway, thank you for being here. If this video has been interesting, insightful, please do me a favour, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, I would love you forever. And please remember, whilst this is the perfect thing for me to be able to document, I want to share things that are ideally activating you, and to remind you that it is faith plus action that equals miracles. So allow yourself to be activated and think differently, and ideally do something different off the back of what you're watching. I love you, and I will see you tomorrow.